1019 WDET-FM. I'm Tia Graham, and this week we have been joined by historian and journalist Ken Coleman. Ken, it's Friday. We're wrapping things up. How has this week been for you?
Oh, it's been amazing. Is it Friday already?
I know. We marched on through to this first week of October.
Goes so fast.
Yes, it did.
And when we think about time and how it moves, let's talk about Detroit history. Important notes that happened on October the 4th in our city's history. Let's go back to 1901. 1901 was when the first automobile in Michigan was introduced in Detroit. That automobile was called the Oldsmobile Curved Dash. That was in 1901. Check this out, Tia. You got an extra $650 in your pocket?
No,
I never do either.
Not even a little bit.
But that is what the Oldsmobile Curved Dash cost. $650.
That's it.
That was it.
Well, I might be able to scrounge that up if I can get a whole car.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Boy, if you can buy a car and not have a note.
I know.
Tell me about it. Let's zoom forward to 1963. That is the day, October the 4th, when 18 blacks and whites staged a sit-in in the main lobby of the First Federal Savings and Loan Association bank, a lending institution. They were protesting through sit-in because the bank was operating racial discriminatory practices against African Americans and other people of color. The NAACP got involved in that. Sit-in in 1963 and demanded that the bank discontinue its racial discriminatory practices against African Americans. That happened in 1963.
On this day. Here's one that's a really good one, particularly because we're right in the middle of Hispanic Heritage Month. On this date, October the 4th, 2012, Detroit and the world were getting ready to see the documentary film Searching for Sugar Man. Yes,
you'll remember that.
Yes.
Yeah. Detroit's own Sixto Rodriguez was featured in that documentary. For those of you that don't remember, Sixto Rodriguez, or his stage name was Rodriguez. Yes. He recorded two very important albums in the early 1970s, but after that he kind of faded in the business, and people kind of wondered what happened to Rodriguez. Well, we knew he was here in Detroit, but a lot of the rest of the country and world didn't know, and what we found out is that in South Africa, he was huge. He was like, and so Rodriguez even himself was like, hey, So Searching for Sugar Man was getting ready to premiere on this date, October the 4th, 2012.
And that is amazing to bring us all those facts, number one, but then to bring us the fact about Sixto Rodriguez, which is, once again, one of the things that we really talked about and promoted here at WDET.
No question.
We did screenings of Searching for Sugar Man and so many different things. Ryan Patrick Cooper made sure that he did a lot of work.
Incredible work
Yes,
DET did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for bringing us those hits of history for October 4th in the city of Detroit.
Absolutely.
Now, jumping into a history-filled day today, the second annual Preservation of Jazz Appreciation Ceremony is happening next week at the Aretha Jazz Cafe. The ceremony will highlight individuals dedicated to celebrating and preserving jazz music in Detroit. And the ceremony is put on by Sky Covington, a local performer and the founder of the Preservation of Jazz, as well a host of music series throughout the entire city of Detroit. And luckily, thanks to Sky, I happen to be one of those folks who will be honored in helping preserve the sound of jazz music in Detroit. And honestly, I didn't even know how this could happen. I just kind of stumbled into it. So Sky Covington, welcome to the Metro.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Of course.
And congratulations.
No, thank you. You
Absolutely.
Exactly. You did this. So thank you so much. And I just want to start with the second annual Preservation of Jazz Appreciation Ceremony. It's happening next week. Go into the second year and how it's helped preserve jazz.
Yes, we've been going on with the Preservation of Jazz now for 7 years.
Wow.
And so we've built some momentum, and I think now it's time to call out those who have been there from the start. It was something that I felt we needed to be reminded of. Jazz is not dead. You and I talked about it earlier this year about, jazz isn't dead, and I want to be one of the ones to keep that music and genre of music in our forefront. And so many people have helped me do this incredible project. So this is our second annual time for just to love on them a bit and have everyone in one room is going to be a super feeling.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Is this community of people who just love jazz music in general, and then people who love to learn about it and appreciate it in a different way with people who actually appreciate the art. So what does preserving jazz mean to you? You were just talking about it just a little bit, but you've dedicated your life to this work. This is something that's not just fly by for you. This is something that you do and you live and you breathe. So what does it mean to you to be in this position, in this space, to preserve this music?
Well, it's helping with my mental health and my wellness as well, because the music it has preserved its elegance, and it's to me it's a classical music. Yeah. So it really has refined some of my rough edges. It gives me we're not supposed to always look back. I've learned that this through my mentor. It's not always healthy to look back, but it's so safe to look back for jazz. Jazz has been such a beautiful way, a beautiful language for us. And we have been able to come together, all walks of life, to come together and agree on this music here. It's all shades of colors. It's just not one color, one culture. It's just been a very safe and classical music, and it definitely has refined me a bit.
So, Sky, because we talk often, like you said, we talked earlier this year about the idea of jazz not dying, number one, not being dead, but actually thriving, especially with the new generation of folk. But before we get to that, talk about the language there, because oftentimes when I'm talking with jazz performers or educators or those who are just immersed within the jazz culture itself, they talk about the language of the music and how it speaks to the audience and speaks to the person who's performing. So if you can, explain to those who are listeners of jazz and who aren't, the language of it, the conversation that's happening there with the music.
The magic of jazz language is the improvisation. The clever, the cunning, the shy, the movements of jazz is a lot like dance, but the improvisation to be able to just be able to say what you feel. And you can, as we're speaking now, but on stage, we get to say what we feel in all of these brilliant, elegant, rough, bluesy, all of these different ways. A lot like dance, but I think the language is improv, and
wow.
that's the language.
Yeah. Certainly, Sky Covington, music great, is joining us here on the Metro. She's talking about the second annual Preservation of Jazz Appreciation Ceremony that's coming up at the Aretha Jazz Cafe in downtown Detroit. Sky is the founder of the Preservation of Jazz. Sky, let's turn our attention to Detroit. What has been the Motor City's influence in the jazz world?
Well, some of the best jazz. And hello, Mr. Cantoman.
I was getting ready to say, hello, dear. How are you? I wish you were in studio. I'd give you a big hug.
I know. I should have just came on down. But,
Detroit's influence in the jazz world. Yeah.
Yes, Detroit has. Someone said this. Who said this? Was just talking about that. Ralph Armstrong. Mm-hmm. Yes. That Detroit has incubated some of the best jazz musicians of our time.
Absolutely.
From Belgrave to Diane Reeves.
The McKinneys, the whole McKinney family.
all the McKinneys, Mr. Rogers. They're doing one of my teachers in Northwestern High School, and to go even further, Diane. Oh my God, my goodness, Dinah Washington. She was about to settle here before her untimely death.
Actually lived here. She married Dick Night Train Lane, the famous Detroit Lion.
Yeah. So we have Sammy Davis. We have. We're the port for jazz too, because a lot of jazz artists have come through here, and just this is where they hung out. This is where they learned. This is where they were mentored. Like my favorite, Billie Holiday. This was definitely her town.
Yeah.
She loved Detroit. She loved the Black Bottom. So a lot of our, I can name 1,000.
But and there definitely are 1,000 or more, Sky. But you've been able over the years. I've seen you many an evening performing. You've been able to host jazz nights all summer, and that has continued. You certainly perform 365 days a year. What does that mean about? What does that tell us about your love for jazz in the city?
Well, I do. I love jazz. I love jazz so much that I wanted to get deeper involved in jazz, so I started producing other shows. So I've been having the pleasure of learning all over again. I've been putting the Satin Dial Review. That's an eight women show. Kimmy Horn, Dornetta Davis, Tasha Owens, Nina Simone Neal. Then we started putting together the Take 5 all-male review, working with David Green as Louis Armstrong. And, of course, I've been performing Billie Holiday for over 27. Ooh, okay. but
I love it.
It's been, I did get a little, I wanted to tap into what jazz can be. So working with other people has strengthened my own show, because, certain things I just still didn't know. So working with all of these jazz cats has brought a brighter vision for what I've been doing for so long. So it's like I'm being I'm reborn again. I was doing it on my own for so long that it's so nice to share with so many different great jazz legends here in Detroit.
Sky, that was one of the things that I loved the most about working with you over these years, is just growing this community of jazz and learning more about jazz and the artists, and just a love and appreciation for it. So Sky Covington, the performer and founder of the Preservation of Jazz nonprofit, thank you so much for joining us on the Metro. I will see you next Wednesday for the second annual Preservation of Jazz Appreciation Ceremony. It is happening at the Aretha Jazz Cafe Wednesday, October 9th at 7 p.m. Thank you so much, Sky. Like I said, see you next week.
Okay, peace and jazz to you both.
All right, thank you, dear.
All right.
This is the Metro on 101.9 WDET-FM, and Ken, forecast today, partly sunny, a high around 70 degrees. Tomorrow, Saturday, sunny, 69 degrees, so still looking okay. And then Sunday, we do have a slight chance of showers early in the morning into the afternoon. However, gives way to mostly sunny skies with a high near 77 degrees in October. Wow. It's October, so 77 in October, I'm feeling pretty good about that.
I can totally dig 77 degrees in October. I'll take it any day of the year, but certainly in October. Absolutely. In the news, my friend, this year's state house elections could determine the future of Democratic control in Michigan. Now, the party holds a 2-seat majority in both the state house and the state senate. As part of our weekly series, Mishmash, Shana Roth and Gongwer News Services' Alethea Casbin, and of course our good friend Zach Gorchow highlight the races to watch throughout Michigan. You can find Mishmash on WDET.org or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also meet the Mishmash team as they are hosting a live taping in Lansing on October the 16th.
Looking forward to that coming up. We'll chat with the owner of a jeweler, 99 years in the making. 99 years it's been in the city of Detroit. We're going to chat with Michael Simmons in one moment. You all stay right there. Metro on 101.9 WDET FM. I'm Tia Graham here with journalist and historian Ken Coleman. And Ken, for a show like today, we're very, very history heavy today with the topics. And I love the fact that we have you here because you are a historian. So you do research and you understand what's happening.
Absolutely. This is a historian's dream being on the Metro this morning. Absolutely.
I love it so much.
Digging it.
So our next conversation, small businesses generally don't last very long, and a host of different research that it's anywhere from 5 to 10 years, and a lot of fail earlier than that. But that's not the case with Simmons and Clark Jewelers. The family business began in Detroit in 99 years ago. And to talk now about the business and how it got up and running and how it's remained in the city of Detroit, we have Michael Simmons here, the third generation owner of Simmons and Clark Jewelers. Michael, thank you so much for being on the Metro today.
Oh, what a true pleasure to be here. Very fun. And but Ken, I take a little personal. I think she was calling you really old.
No.
But
you starting stuff between us,
Yes.
Michael Simmons.
Hey, gotta have some fun.
Absolutely.
Fun.
Happy Friday. Hey, listen, obviously, nearly a century in the business, Michael Simmons. Tell us how it got started.
So, great story. My grandfather, we'll go back. Henry Ford was paying that unheard of $5 a day in wages. Mm-hmm. Detroit is massively booming. And grandfather was born in Ohio, moved up to Detroit because Ford was paying that crazy wage, and things were just amazing here. He started working for actually another jeweler around the corner from where we currently are on Broadway and have been since October 1st, 1925 was our first day opening. So it's literally 99 years and 3 days now.
Wow.
So they worked for another jewelry firm, met his partner, Harry Clark, there, who had hired him. And they had done so well for 5 years. They got that entrepreneurial bug. And they opened up Simmons and Clark on Broadway, and we've been there ever since.
Wow.
So, yeah, great story, great family. Even though they weren't related, they treated each other like family.
So if we think about that, it's the 1920s. As you mentioned, Henry Ford gives that clarion call, $5 a day. People from all over the country began to move to Detroit. But Detroit was a very different place in 1925. What were some of the challenges at that time of opening the jeweler?
So I'm really not sure, other than Woodward Avenue was the heyday. That was or what they termed the high rent district. So I still remember we had advertising material that had with our logo on it, and it said, in the low rent district. So therefore we have value pricing. And one of the key things that we did back in the 20s, and we're actually one of the original credit jewelers in the country, we offered financing to our customers. So if they couldn't afford to pay for luxury at that point, they could pay $1 down, $1 a week, because they were making some nice wages in the city. And so we offered financing, and actually we still do that today. Very few companies do that these days, where it's still in-house for us.
Got one other quick question to you. I know you want to jump in. I'm amazed by the marquee. And we lived in downtown proper for about 11 years, and I'd walk and jog by the store all the time. The marquee itself, and I'm a little bit of an amateur photographer, but when you when you photograph that marquee and you look at the skyline, you look at the different landscape in downtown Detroit, the YMCA, you got the Stadia right over your shoulder.
Sure.
It's a very different look. Even if you were just to go back 10 or 15 years, you must be proud of that space.
Absolutely love it. I love our building. I've been going there since I was 6 years old. Wow. And probably the most iconic part of our building, not only is it Art Deco style that was built like in the early 1900s, but that sign, our neon sign, and able to maintain it. I mean, it's a goal of ours to continue to maintain it. We love it. It's iconic. It pops out because nobody else has anything like that in the area. And we were proud. We've been awarded some great awards from Virgin Atlantic Magazine as the most iconic sign in the city of Detroit.
Awesome.
So that was a huge thing. We have over 1 million plus hits on Flickr. It's actually probably even higher than that now. So yeah, we're doing everything we can to maintain it. And we have a couple lights out now, but we are working on getting those back up. Worst part is it's my name that's out, so I'm kind of upset by that, but we're working on it.
As long as the business is still being advertised, I mean,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you're just joining us, we're chatting with Michael Simmons. We're speaking about Simmons and Clark Jewelers, which has been operating in the city of Detroit for 99 years in 3 days.
3 days.
In 3 days.
Hey, see, this is really cool. So he comes in on the week of the
anniversary, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And once again, it's a perfect timing to have Ken Coleman here. Yeah. So I'm thinking about just the times when the jeweler opened up. I mean, this is before the Great Depression, before television was a huge thing. And Detroit has changed. Like Ken was saying, Detroit has changed so much. So how did you all make it through? What were some of the stories that you were hearing growing up about the challenges of making it through some of those things?
Well, I think the credit approval or giving people a chance to pay on terms. So they create like a payment plan. So we have like an annuity. So we're always getting cash flow in the store. And I think that's been a huge process for us. So even things were bad in the city, Chrysler laying off a number of people in like the 70s. So we've seen what my dad would call the great roller coaster ride. We've seen everything, every which way. And I'm just happy to report that things are phenomenal now. Things have been great. We're not just succeeding, we're excelling. And the excitement in the city is just phenomenal. But I think that's a lot of it. Tons of hard work, outrageously loyal customers, outrageously loyal staff who truly care that everything's about the customer. It's not about them. It's not if they show up at the door, because we close at 5 o'clock. If they're showing up the door at 4:59, we're letting them in. Some people just lock the door and let them go. Yeah. We understand. We're customers too. We want to be treated properly, and we do take care of those people like we would want to be treated.
Yeah. And just once again, thinking about just the long history of being in that space and all the things that you've all been able to encounter, this roller coaster ride, clientele versus, when you started and when you took over ownership. When did you take over ownership?
I don't know. You have to argue with my kids now.
Okay.
So hopefully the fourth generation's still a few years out. But so I really came into the business. I graduated Michigan April 30th, 1984. Started work May 1st, 1984. And never looked back. Just love the business. It's the most fun business there is. There's really nothing. Everything about my business is all good stuff. It's whether it's a friendship ring or friendship bracelet. It's an engagement ring, a promise ring, birthing gifts, anniversary gifts, like throughout a lifetime. We're there for all the great things in somebody's life, celebrating all these fun, loving experiences. So how do you not love that? I'm just part of every good experience in a family's, and we take it personal. So, some good friends, kids are now getting engaged. I'm doing the rings for them. I've known these kids since they were born.
That is crazy.
Tell me something more fun than that. And these kids are so appreciative. They know you. It's a very comfortable setting for them, because going out and spending a good amount of money on a ring, it's a little nerve-wracking. Yeah. But here we've made it so easy, simple. There's no pressure. We just want to make sure we're creating something that he or she is going to be proud to give to his spouse or future spouse.
My last thing before, because Ken, I want you to get into some history facts here. Sure. But my last thing before I bring Ken back into this conversation is about the price point that I looked online. I saw what was going on there, and I said, this is actually affordable for someone like myself. So if we can just talk about the attention to detail there and making sure that it is a place where most people can shop.
So our customer base is everybody.
Yeah.
We have, value priced. We can get you way more than you want to spend. We can do everything. And that's where my grandfather once said, you really can't be everything to everybody, but we figured out a way how to do that. So we have customers who work at the McDonald's. I also have clients who are, running billion-dollar corporations. So we really can service everything. So even though I'm only one little store in the city of Detroit, we're part of the largest member-owned buying group in the country. Wow. So I buy like one of the largest chains in the United States. I have access to anything and everything. And then you also get the personal touch because you're not dealing with a huge corporation. So we really have every price point from starting maybe $30, $40. We have Detroit Lions watches that are $49.99.
Hey, there you go. Taking advantage of it.
But now I got to work on the Tiger stuff.
There you go. Before next week, man. You got a couple home games.
Right, exactly. Starting Wednesday and Thursday. So yeah, it's been so exciting to be in the city. But yeah, we can service everybody and everything. We offer custom design services. So if you don't see it, or you saw a picture of something, we can make it. We have our own shops. We have our own jewelers. We have our watchmakers. It's just a very fun process, and it's fun to be there. And when you can either repair somebody's grandmother's ring that they want to now fit for them, we can do those things. Again, you can't imagine the smile that somebody has when we're presenting it back to them and go, oh my God. And then the sentimental feelings, get tears. It's a great, great feeling. So.
Yeah. Talking to Michael Simmons from Simmons Clark, the legendary jeweler in downtown Detroit. Hey, listen, so my wife and I, Kim, moved into downtown proper in 2000, almost 25 years ago. It is a very different downtown today as opposed to just 25 years ago. A lot of times we talk about the old days and we're talking about the 40s or 50s or 60s. A lot has happened in downtown Detroit in the last 25 years. If I think about some of the legacy businesses that were there when Kim and I moved downtown. Sure. Henry the Hatter, your old neighbor, right. Sermons right around the block. Yep. They're gone now, or they've moved. Henry the Hatter is still in Eastern Market. But I guess what I'm saying is, out of downtown proper, are you worried about? There are a lot of great things happening in the city with the rebirth. Are you worried about your ability to stay in that particular space?
No. One, my father had the forethought to buy our building. So that was a huge super bonus. He had even though downtown there was nothing around our store, and we bought the building after actually renting it for 50 years.
I remember.
So we bought the building, and there was, absolutely nothing. And we were able to stick it out because our customers were loyal to us. We knew how to service our customers, and the loyalty was there. They appreciated us staying in Detroit, and that's one of the great comments. Somebody who hasn't been downtown in a while, or they moved out of state, they're back. Oh my God, you're still here? Mm-hmm. That's like phenomenal. And same family, same everything. So we're very fortunate about that. But yeah, I'm not concerned. All you need is a few billionaires, and things work out really well.
And pretty much that's what's happening.
Exactly. But they've done such a great job. They're really thinking of the future. It's not to make a quick buck. They're looking at the long haul. And between the Gilberts, the Illiches, Penske's, even like our DDP organization, Downtown Development, with Eric Larson, Cindy Paskey. Yeah. They're all thinking, what can we do next? Mm-hmm. How do we improve this even more? And it's night and day between when I was coming down here like in the 70s, and I loved it. Even when things were bad down here, I still love the city. We still had a beautiful waterfront. The streets, we needed more traffic. We needed more retail. We needed more restaurants. We needed more residential, which they've all brought all this here now. So everything is, all the pieces are there. We just need some more bodies coming in and maybe get back into the office. I know remote work is still very popular, but get them on the streets. It's so much more exciting when things are going on. Or even come down during a Tiger or Lions game or Pistons.
It's crazy.
Oh, my God. It's so much fun. Yeah, it's crazy. Parking, when you have
crazy in a good way.
Oh, no, in a 100% positive way. But when people start complaining about parking becoming an issue, you're going in the right direction.
Yeah. Hey, Michael Simmons, I do history tours, man. Let's talk.
Anytime. Oh my gosh, yes. You guys are gonna connect after this. We have Michael Simmons, the third generation owner of Simmons and Clark Jewelers, here with us today. Thank you so much for stopping by and talking to us about 99 years of a business in the city of Detroit.
I appreciate it. Very fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It. Yes.
It's the Metro on 101.9 WDET FM. Coming up, most restaurants and businesses, they do close after a while. We just learned about that. A long history of Simmons and Clark Jeweler. However, we have another business who's been around for 90 years. And we're going to chat with the owner and operator of Baker's Keyboard Lounge coming up next. It's the Metro on 101.9 WDET-FM. I am Tia Graham here with historian and journalist Ken Coleman. We're still talking history, Ken.
Great Friday. Great History Friday, my friend.
Yes.
Boy, y'all know how to put together some programs.
It's for you. It's for you, Ken.
Oh, I love it. Well, let's stay on the great road that we've been on. You know, Tia, jazz has been alive for 90 years at Baker's Keyboard Lounge in Detroit. And Baker's Keyboard Lounge is located not too far from the famous Avenue of Fashion. Tremendous venue, opened in 1934. A who's who of jazz names have played there, including Nat King Cole, Ella Fitzgerald, John Coltrane, and more. It's still a frequent stop for musicians in the U.S. In fact, I'll probably be there tonight to hear some good stuff, as I normally do. The sound is important at Baker's, and so is the flavor. It originally started as a beer and sandwich restaurant. A lot of people don't know that in 1934. Now it serves some of the best soul food in the city. Baker's Keyboard Lounge is being honored at the Smooth Jazz Fall Fest at the Fox Theater tomorrow at 7 p.m. Here with us to talk about the history of Baker's Keyboard Lounge is my good friend Bill Smith. Bill, welcome to the Metro.
Oh, thank you, guys. I'm glad to have to be here and glad to be on the Metro.
Absolutely, my friend. So, 90 years. That is something special. You know, we talked to Michael Simmons in the previous block,
Yes.
and they're at about 100. Baker's is right around the corner.
Yeah. Great business.
Legacy businesses. Tell me, how do you keep it going? Why the legacy? You know what I mean?
Well, it starts with hard work, but it also combines true faith in God to be resilient through all things. Because of course, as we all know, that there's always obstacles. You just have to maintain and then keep going. That's it.
Yeah. And you've been doing it, right?
Sure.
It's part of the ownership team. I think you guys, you've been managing the institution for how many years now?
Me, myself, personally, about 17 years total. Yeah. Been in ownership since 2011.
Wow.
How has it changed? How has the space changed? Now, a lot of us, if you've been to Baker's Keyboard Lounge, you know it's certainly a dinner supper club.
Sure.
On one side has an iconic bar on the other side in the shape of a grand piano with the piano keys. So how do you maintain that? Because I know some people come in, they will just want to have dinner.
Right.
Some people come in, they just want to have a cocktail.
Well, again, as times have changed, we know that music has also changed, and then the interest of certain types of music has changed. When we began, of course, jazz was in the forefront. When you had guys like you formerly mentioned, John Coltrane, Miles Davis, these guys were the pinnacle of jazz at the time, and that was the genre of the day. Today is a little different. You have shorter attention spans. We have internet. We have social media. So Baker's
People are on their phones.
Yeah. So again, with people
Calling me out.
with people on their phones, you have different challenges now. So now people come in now more for the vibe, if that's the new word being used. And so we have to play into that and lean into the times we live in. The times we live in are food, vibe, and then music. So that is our job now.
As a person, yes, that's what you hear a lot is what's the vibe like in the space? What's the feeling in the space? Which is cool, which is fine. But a lot of us out there are interested in the music that's being played. We want to go to a space where there is live music with live band and live instruments. I mean, so that's what a lot of us are still looking for out there. So when we think about the live aspect of it, how has Baker's been able to maintain that live aspect in the community, especially within the jazz community?
Well, that's a great question. I am a jazz purist, and so it irks me a bit that our own culture and community doesn't wrap their arms around our music. And I say our music means American-made. It is an American-made genre, and I love it. And I'm going to continue to love it to the day I die. Yeah. But now my job is to feed now the new listener 30 seconds of great music at a time. So my job now is to find the best musicians to place on my stage so that when a person looks up from his phone or puts his fork down, that when they actually turn their ears into the stage, that they're hearing the best music possible. that I can provide.
So that's interesting, and that's going to lead me to my next question. I just want to kind of set the stage again. If you're just joining us on the Metro, you're listening to Bill Smith, who is an owner of Baker's Keyboard Lounge, a legacy business in Detroit, celebrating its 90th year, and it will be honored on Saturday because of that legacy. So let me, because that was a great intro. The last answer to your question kind of leads me to this. Like, so there, you in the old days, you'd go to a jazz set, you'd pay to sit down,
Right.
have dinner at a jazz set, and it might be 60 or 90 minutes.
True.
I know you still do longer sets, but what you're saying is you've got to capture the imagination of somebody in maybe 30-second spurts or 5 or 10 minute spurts.
Yes.
That speaks to the changing of the just how we process things as Americans. And
Right. As a psychologist, I know how to get my win to be happy. Let's liken it to a comedian. A comedian can lay a joke out. Now, all a pure comedian has to hear is one laugh, and he can tune right into that person and continue his set when others may be oblivious to what he's doing or saying. My job now is when I get my customers to put a phone down, to put a fork down, and to listen to what's happening on stage for moments at a time. I get a win when I can hear them listening to some of the all-time great compositions and music, because that kind of brings them into the fold. What I ask my musicians to do in these days and times is to make the music relevant.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if you want to hear blue suede shoes
standard.
from a standard from the past, you lose some of the interest of the new patron. But if you hit them with something, a jazz charted Beyonce, then they put the phone down
Throw a
for
bass
a
line
moment.
in there, a bass line or a riff. Maybe add that. No, it makes perfect sense. I've been there many a night, and Ralph Armstrong, your Friday night bassist and guitarist. I mean, he's almost part musician, part comedian, because he'll between songs he'll talk about the news of the day, throw a twist on it, whose birthday is the day, and that type of the personal things. That cause people to, okay, put that phone, you're going to put that phone down and look at that brother said what?
That's part of the engagement. Also is making it personal with a birthday or an acknowledgement. So again, it's a wedding of a lot of different things, if you will, but that's what we try to do is bring people back into understanding the hard work that these musicians have to go through to put this music on stage.
So, Bill, before I let you go, we got about 30 seconds or so here, about a minute or 30 seconds. So just to just cap it all up, and you are being honored this weekend. This is the Smooth Jazz a Fall Festival that's happening at the Fox Theater with Detroit Music. Sam Donald, who was here talking about that, alongside Ralph Armstrong. So both of you all will be honored. I will be presenting the award to you
wonderful.
Saturday evening. So
Wonderful.
I'm super excited about that. But just talk about that 90 years of jazz music. You're a purist. Talk about just being a part of preserving the sound of jazz music in Detroit.
Well, it is an honor, a complete honor, if you will, to be a steward of this music. My life's goal is always to have a legacy here in Detroit. And if that legacy is I am maintaining, if you will, passing that torch on of the genre of jazz from the oldest jazz club in the world, then that is my duty and my lifetime commitment and goal and dream. So an honor is great, but I wake up every day honored by God that he's placed me in the right place.
All right. Bill Smith is the owner of Baker's Keyboard Lounge, the legendary Baker's Keyboard Lounge. The institution will be honored tomorrow night at the Smooth Jazz Fall Fest at the Fox Theater. The show begins at 7 p.m.
Tickets are on sale. Bill, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you guys so much. I love you, Detroit.
It's the Metro on 101.9 WDET FM. Coming up, it's Friday, which means we're going to have our weekly conversation with the Detroit documenters and find out what they're learning, what's happening in city council meetings. You all stay right there. on 101.9 WDET FM. I am Tia Graham here with Ken Coleman, historian and journalist. Ken, I hope today was just like so much fun for you so far.
Marvelous. Big pickup. We've been talking off the air about what's going on with me. So this has been a great week. And certainly this is the best day of the 5.
I mean, don't get me teary-eyed in here. Let me just go ahead and get into this next conversation with the Detroit Documenters, because it's Friday, and every Friday we chat with the Detroit Documenters on the Metro. And this week, the Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network is in the hiring process for a new CEO. They're down to 2 candidates, Detroit Police Chief James White and President of the Team Wellness, Michael Hunter. To discuss the role of DWIN and the interview process, we're joined by Detroit documenter Clarissa Williams. Clarissa, welcome to the Metro.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And we're also joined by Detroit Documenters coordinator Lynelle Herndon. Lynelle, you're no stranger. Welcome back to the show.
Oh, good to be back.
Absolutely. Lynelle, what is DWIN? Talk to us about it.
All right. So DWIN is the Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network. Okay. So it's a city-county kind of combined agency.
Is that quasi-governmental or is it
It's governmental.
Just governmental.
Yeah. And they oversee they're the largest actual mental health authority in Michigan. I think there's like 75,000 participants. So they, mental health, behavioral health, substance abuse, they have like more than 200 partners around the city that kind of administer these services.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And they're looking for a CEO. What would that CEO do?
Well, the chief executive does what chief executives do, right?
Run
He
stuff.
oversees this billion-dollar agency.
Billion?
Yeah, billion-dollar agency. They've got a lot of coins to distribute to help combat, this crisis that the city and the county is facing. So they manage, that partner network. They manage their employees, DWIN's building a lot of crisis centers right now. So, yeah.
So, Clarissa, bringing you into the conversation, I want to get into the background of each candidate. But first, we do have a clip from Chief James White talking at the interview about why he's seeking the role of DWIN CEO. Here he is.
I've always been passionate about mental health, watching the revolving door aspects of it in my family, which caused me to pursue education in it so that I can help people in my own network that were struggling, looking at what PTSD does to officers, seeing the level of violence that they see on a day-in and day-out basis, and frankly, seeing what PTSD does to our community. I think that this is an area that I can make an impact.
Clarissa, can you talk about Chief White's background a little bit?
Sure. So, in addition to his experience with the police department, Chief White also has a bachelor's in sociology and a master's in mental health counseling. Yeah, so it's a surprising and pleasant background, though it is just education. He brought that into the police department by overseeing the mental health corresponding unit, which was a very large team of, I believe, over 2,000 officers.
Wow. All right, so he does have a background and an understanding of the position at hand. And we also have a clip from someone who has been in a role that's similar to what he's applying for right now, Team Wellness President Michael Hunter. He's talking about why he wants to be the DWIN CEO. Here's that clip here of Hunter.
I really enjoy this industry. I really embrace the network. I love the fact that we as a network are partners. That doesn't mean that we all do the same exact thing, but we all have a common goal for helping the people that are most vulnerable. And I believe that I have demonstrated over the last at least 2 decades my abilities to lead effectively in this industry and in this network in particularly. And if I'm able to help more people at a higher level, then I'm anxious to do that.
And Lynelle, can you talk about Team Wellness and President Michael Hunter?
Right. So Team Wellness is actually one of those provider network partners of DWIN that I was talking about earlier. And so that's kind of how Michael Hunter has somewhat of a relationship with DWIN and is kind of familiar with that role. I don't know how many people Team Wellness serves, but they have a couple of locations around the city. for mental and behavioral health.
Yeah. So he has the background, he has an understanding there, which helps him along the way as well. So these are two very qualified candidates.
Absolutely. If you're just tuning in to the Metro, we're chatting with Detroit Documenters coordinator Lynelle Herndon and documenter Clarissa Williams. Clarissa, what are some of your takeaways from the two interviews and the interview process?
As far as the two interviews, I'd say they both seem to have this passion for it. They both want to approach it in an analytical way. Hunter mentioned wanting to use data to figure out how to improve the system and things like that, as well as Mr. White, who stated that he would like to see how the system is and analyze it a bit more in order to help. So I think it's great, and they seem very, very well qualified to start in this field. It is a little, well, personally, I must say, I do question if they have enough experience in the healthcare field specifically. Hunter does have good experience in healthcare administration, which obviously adds a lot to the role. But when it comes to touching base with this public, exactly, just in the healthcare field, seeing how systems work in hospitals and healthcare, as far as dealing with policies and things like that, it gets a little more complicated. And it's just different when you're dealing of point of care and things like that. So I did notice that a few of the other candidates seem to have a little more experience in that, and that might seem a little helpful. But as far as the candidates go, it was really narrowed down to the two. So it seems like it's kind of a done deal. So
we're going to know someone
It
soon.
happened very quickly, though. Yeah, so.
I'm always curious, real quick, how many people attend? Did anybody attend the public process interview?
There was a couple dozen people online. I don't believe anyone attended in person.
Okay.
All righty then. So as we're chatting right now with our Detroit documenters, bringing Lynelle back in, what's next in this interview process? What can we expect from you all in the near future? So first, let's start with what's next in the interview process. We got about 30 seconds to go with that one.
Yeah, they're going to narrow these down on October 14th, and they'll make their final decision to the board.
Wow. So we'll hear from you all about that final decision. And then what can we expect to hear from you all in the near future?
Look, I can't even.
Let's get real. Let's get real.
She said,
let's get real. Yep, let's get real.
I don't know what we're covering coming up next. There's a lot going on in City Council with the what is it? The
school
board? No, it's the buffer zone around health clinics. So that's kind of going on. Towing is still going on. But I just want to say we have an orientation October 24th. If you want to be a Detroit documenter, you can check us out at outliermedia.org/Detroit Documenters.
Yes, please. If you want to be a documenter, do what Lynelle just said, please. Thank you so much to Lynelle and Clarissa for joining us on the Metro this week for our Detroit Documenters segment, our weekly segment. Thank you so much once again. And we look forward to seeing hearing from both of you soon.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And I just want to say a huge thank you. It's the Metro for Friday, October 4th. Huge thank you to Ken Coleman for being here this week. The historian, the journalist, the professional, that guy. He is him. So
thank you so much. It's been a great week.
Ken, it's been amazing working with you. It's full circle. You knew me as an intern, and here we are. So thank you so very much for joining us on the Metro this week, Ken. It's been very, very... it's been heartfelt being here with you, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
Of course, this is WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation. Thank you so much for listening. Ken, once again, thank you for being here.
Go Tigers!
Tigers! Can't wait for that. Go Tigers.